and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life, welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doing Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doing Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. This is Marissa and I'll be taking you through until 5 o'clock this evening. First up on the show, we'll be speaking with Caroline Jackson, and we're going to be speaking with her about Ray. And Ray Jackson has done a lot of amazing work around Aboriginal deaths in custody, and in fact this radio show is a special tribute and broadcast because it is around the anniversary of his death. And Ray was a Wiradjuri and working class warrior for justice, and not only did he do work on Aboriginal deaths in custody, but he also did lots of work with unions, and he was an internationalist, and he also worked with refugees. But he was also a great-grandfather and grandfather as well, and father, and recipient of the French Human Rights Award in 2013. And also, Ray has been honoured with a poster paying tribute to his life and legacy. It's the poster as part of Just Seed's International Celebrate History series. And yeah, so this show will be a little bit different. Instead of interviewing people that are directly connected with Ray, I mean, Carolyn, of course, is connected, but we're going to be covering the Frontier Wars today as well, and looking at Anzac Day and looking at some of that stuff, because I remember that Ray was really committed to that, and he came onto our show quite a lot. And so we're going to be speaking with Sam Watson, who's from Queensland, and we'll speak with him about the Frontier Wars and about some of the things, the atrocities and massacres that happened over time and during colonisation. But anyway, we're going to be speaking with Carolyn first. Hello, Carolyn. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Marissa. How are you?
It's lovely to have you. Good, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And it's that time of year again.
Yes, it is. We actually had Dad's memorial on Saturday. It was held at the settlement at Redfern. So that was quite. It was a really nice memorial for those who remember Dad, and for all of his achievements, and also to people that were inspired by him. So it was a real nice turnout on that day. So, but yeah, it's come around. It's the 4th year now of his anniversary. So, yeah.
What date did he pass away, Carolyn?
He passed away on the 23rd of April.
The 23rd of April. Oh, yes.
Yeah, 2015.
And he actually passed on just after he chaired the last ISJA meeting in Sydney, which he founded.
Yes, correct. So he passed away, I think it was, he'd done his last emails, I think it was 11 o'clock at night, and then he was found the next morning. He had passed away at home asleep. So, yeah, so that was the very next day. So after that meeting, so he did his last emails roughly about 11 o'clock. I think also too that day he also went to the 10 Embassy as well.
Yeah.
Because he was still at ill health. He was, still suffering from pneumonia. But so it was the next day that he did pass away due to that. So, but hopefully it sounded like peacefully in his sleep. So,
yeah. Well, we can never forget, can we?
No, we can't, especially now with all the achievements. He was, ever since he passed, although he was awarded the Doctor of Letters through the Macquarie University.
Yeah.
Also, too, the website, the Deathscape, that Marissa, you came up to Sydney and you did that. You actually broadcast that too when you were up.
I did, yeah.
With a website for that's going to be used in universities and as a tool, and also too for it's going to be used in criminal law. So for students in criminal law that'll be studying that subject, to see both sides, not just to see the one side of the supposed criminal side, but also the injustice side of those who unfortunately passed away in distant custody. So that also too was a major achievement as well. So, and a lot more. And what's good about it is the fact that a lot of the young ones too, they're all learning and then knowing through elders, and also to what's great about too is these schools and these departments are actually acknowledging and also have been educated on this particular, important subject that it's still, people are still struggling with to try and get justice for those, loved ones that are lost. So he's done a lot, and people are still learning through that, and also to carrying on his legacy, which is just fantastic. So.
Yeah, it's important. And the settlement is actually quite important, isn't it? Didn't Ray actually chair a lot of meetings there and do a lot of work with a lot of families that whose loved ones had died in custody there?
Exactly, yes. He had, that particular place, settlement, and also he was the one that held the passport ceremony. Also the passport to give those rights. Welcome to those into, especially refugees, into our, Aboriginal land. So he did that. That was a major thing that Dad was so passionate about. So so a lot of things, a lot of issues, a lot of things were held there at the settlement, and to this day, it still is a meeting ground for those. I think Yeastra sometimes, a lot of times they have their meetings there as well, Yeastra Sydney. Yeah. So definitely it's a very, very special place, the settlement, and very special place where Dad did held a lot of his meetings.
And in particular, one of the things that came out for the Doing Time show with Ray was the way that he was able to do some really special interviews and really represent the families and the people, in the Aboriginal people themselves that had died in custody, and looking at those situations in detail.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, definitely. But there's a lot more. Since then, there's so much that's undeterred that you don't hear about. I had an elder actually mention in Bathurst that there was 3 young children were found in custody, just in custody, that no one's heard, and 2 of them had apparently their throat slit. That you don't hear about it. No. So one of the elders actually mentioned that to me on Saturday at the settlement. How many deaths in custody, and within the young as well. So very young. That was quite disturbing, actually. Children? So, yes, children, apparently. From one of the elders that told me there was a set of twins that were found, and they're trying to say it might have been suicide, but it's not. No, maybe not. That's an inquiry that's been investigated. But so for all the others that have been going on for 30 years, 40 years, I mean, they're still going, still trying to find justice for it. It's just a long, long stretch of, a struggle to try and seek justice for that. even though that there is, the court findings are there, there's footages, there's images, there's to say that there is, that these people obviously haven't, inflicted these type of injuries or these kind of deaths on themselves. It's actually been brought upon them by authorities. So it's just trying to knock down that wall and try to get to the truth and to get justice for those who committed these awful crimes.
That's exactly right. And examples would be, about Miss Dew dying in custody from...
Oh, yeah. So now I'll come with this.
Yeah.
You've got footages of that. There's actually footage of that, how she was treated.
Yeah.
And how she was, she wasn't acted on when, there was no medical assistance, urgent medical assistance assisted to her.
That's right.
They just dragged a limp body through the cells. It was absolutely horrible. And it's there. It's there in footage. It's there to see. And it's witnessed. But still to this day, nothing's been done.
Nothing's been done. And, in fact, she had domestic violence inflicted upon her. And,
exactly.
And she was imprisoned in that police cell. And the health authorities were saying that and the police were saying that she faked it. And then, of course...
She was faking it.
Yeah, and then, of course, you've got David Dungay, and Wayne Morrison. There's just so many. John Pat.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yeah.
And Ray.
And that's just a few.
Yeah, that's just a few. And Ray actually worked with nearly all of those families. And in fact, Carolyn, what I found really powerful at Deathscapes, the Deathscapes website launch was when you and your sister Francine, and also people from the team of Deathscapes were calling out the names of the people that had died in custody, and they were Aboriginal people and refugees in detention centres, and that was really powerful, wasn't it?
That was really powerful. That was quite disturbing actually. How many there was, and that was that's just a minute. That's not. They didn't even touch the rest of them. Nowhere near it. I mean, there was just so many of them, and also too what they were held in custody for, like minor fines. I think Miss Jude. I think she was held in the cell for for fines.
Yeah, fines. Yeah.
So nothing that. Just petty little things. But for those to, like some of the instances, they say they commit suicide. But what for? I mean, one of them was a father, and he had a lot to live for. He was a football player. Why would you want to do something like that to yourself overnight? How can that be done to you? How can you self-inflict that on yourself? It's impossible to be done.
Impossible to be done. And one of the commitments that Ray had was that he wanted elected civilian boards not to have police investigating police, like in what happened with TJ Hickey.
Exactly. And that's another one that's still going.
Yeah.
It's still that one there with TJ. That's another one.
Yeah.
So look. I think what's good is that the message is getting out there. And they're, like I said, universities, which is good because the universities are the ones that are teaching these people that are going to be upcoming lawyers, criminal lawyers. And with this website, it's going to give them an eye-opening of, the other side. Yeah. So that's really good. So these students are going to be educated, on the part that, these people being, murdered, like to say murdered under custody, under custody of these authorities. So that's one good thing about this website and the fact that this message is going out, is that the fact that, this is happening and it's actually educating the universities and schools of the other side as well. So, which is great. So acknowledgement is the main thing and awareness, but it's just getting the justice, put in place. That's what it is. That's what the main thing is that people are trying to do now. And families is trying to get those, Yeah.
It really is beautifully set out. What is the website called?
It's called Deathscapes.
So it's www.deathscapes?
Yeah.
.org?
Deathscapes.org.
It's a good tool, isn't it, Carolyn?
Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. It just broke down, just another brick that was just knocked off that wall, which is great. to try and get some kind of, justice more. Yeah, so we're very proud of him and very proud of his achievements, and we're very proud of those who are still carrying on the fight as well. So it's just great. It's just fantastic that, what all of his work's not, because people say, it was a waste, what he's done was just a waste of time. It's just going to stay the way it is. It's going to be no change. But you've got to have a look. There has been major changes. Huge.
Yeah.
So, huge. And, and if people keep on pursuing it and carry on his work, we are eventually going to get through somehow. It's
I
just
agree.
not giving up. It's just not giving up. You've just got to keep on pushing. He was at ill health, Dad. He was at ill health, and he pushed and pushed and pushed till he took his last breath, even with pneumonia, to try. And we can't let that go in vain.
No.
He didn't pass away for all this for nothing. So, we just got to keep it going.
We do. Carolyn, that's great. Just one final question. What can you just summarise a few of the speakers that were at the memorial in Sydney, at the settlement?
Okay, you got Rahul. It was Rahul. Rahul was one of the main speakers. We all spoke. There was only like a handful of us. It wasn't
That's
as many.
all right. Yep.
And it was Rahul. He was there, and the rest were just some of the elders that were there, and some of the people that were admired by Dad, just people that have joined Easter. And a lot of them didn't even know Dad. They just were there just to listen in and tell them how Dad's inspired them, to also to join and keep this going. So it wasn't any speakers. It was just a small, tiny, intimate gathering of people just like I myself, talking about Dad and how Dad, influenced and how he was a major impact and things like that. It was just more remembering him.
You know what? It actually doesn't matter anyway. As long as it's recognised and as long as there's just a couple of you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It was just nice that, we all... I mean, look, we know he's remembered through his work, through people, especially, Joseph. Joseph's one of the professors from Macquarie University. He's a very close friend of Dad, and as you know, he was one of the ones that wanted to keep that website, started the website, but he was the one in his team that ended up finishing it.
Yes.
So they kept that dream and that passion going. So, it mightn't be a small intimate, it was only small at the memorial, but everybody else that could not make that is remembering him in other ways and doing things in other ways to keep his memory going. So, Saturday was just really nice, it was intimate, and it just gave us a chance to, for those who did not know Dad, to listen to the side of Dad that we knew him, which was a very, very good father, a very good mentor, a compass. He was just everything that we admired and respect, and we totally love and miss about him. So it was just nice for them to share, for us to share that part of him. Not just the activism side of him, but as a family man.
Everything.
And a grandfather and a grandfather and a great-grandfather.
As I said in my intro.
Yeah, exactly.
Carolyn, it's so good to have you back, and it's just great. Like, I wanted the show to be different today. I didn't want to just talk about his achievements. I wanted to talk about how we've moved forward, and you've just given us such a great preview, if you like, on how we've moved forward. It's good to talk about his achievements, but he would want us to talk about what's happening now too.
Well, and that's what I mean. I mean, he's passed 4 years ago, but people are still moving forward and are still, fighting the fight, trying to get justice. And like I said, these universities and schools now they're all, joined in, and therefore, like I said, that website it's just great. It's going to be used as a tool. So for criminal law, for students of criminal, so that is breaking a huge barrier, not just to be one side be prejudiced. It's going to see the other side as well.
Yeah,
not those that just because they're criminals, but also they are victims as well.
Absolutely, and that was years of hard work, and that actually happened in February 2019. And if listeners want to have missed out on those recordings, please don't hesitate to jump onto the 3CR website, www.3cr.org.au, and access the podcasts for the symposium.
Definitely.
Carolyn, thank you so much for coming onto the program.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's always nice to hear from you.
And you too. All right, you take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. And that was Carolyn Jackson, daughter of Ray Jackson, speaking about Ray's achievements and about some of the wonderful work that has actually emerged as a result of those achievements. And just sending out a quick cheerio also to Joseph Pugliese, who always comes on every year to celebrate Ray's life. And this year he was unable to come onto the show, but he said he'll be there in spirit. It's approximately 4:20, and I just wanted to cross over to Victoria just to talk about something that's happening tomorrow, which is terribly important. April the 30th, final directions hearing for coronial inquest, and it's hosted by Justice for Tanya Day. Remember her name. And Auntie Tanya died in custody recently, I believe it was last year, and she died actually in custody. So if people can support the Day family, go down to the Coroner's Court of Victoria tomorrow at 65 Kavanagh Street, Kavanagh, South Bank. The address again, Coroner's Court, 65 Kavanagh Street, South Bank, Vic 3006, Melbourne, Victoria. And basically, I'll just read out what the girls, Tanya's girls, say. Mum's third and final direction hearing will be this Tuesday, 30th of April 2019, 10 o'clock. This is hopefully the last step before we begin our inquest in late August. This hearing will finalise and determine the following: if systematic racism will be included, full scope of the inquest, witness list confirmed, set inquest date. We welcome family, friends and community to come along. We appreciate your presence and support. Each one of you helps put pressure on the courts to take appropriate action in ensuring no more Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are dying in custody. We hope to see you there. Belinda Warren, April and Kimberley. It's approximately 4:22 and we might actually take a little bit of a break. I think I'm just going to play an announcement, and we're going to be speaking later on with Sam Watson, speaking about the Frontier Wars. But more about that in a moment.
Before the government started turning back boats in 2013, around 10,000 Tamils arrived seeking refuge in Australia, fleeing from the Sri Lankan government. On Saturday, 4th of May, we invite you to a film screening of No Fire Zone at 6:45 p.m. at RMIT Cinema Theatre. The cinema is located at Building 80, 455 Swanston Street, opposite the RMIT tram stop. This award-winning documentary about the war helps answer why Tamils fled to places like Australia and why it is not safe for them to return. This event is co-hosted by Tamil Refugee Council and Dr. Liam Ward from RMIT's School of Media and Communication, supported by 3CR. Subscribe now at 3cr.org.au.
And you're back with the Doing Time show. Also, just to let people know as well, listeners know, that there is a petition. You can get the petition from the ISJA, Indigenous Social Justice Association Melbourne. They do have a website. Or you can drop into 3CR and get the petition for Auntie Tanya Day, which is basically signing a petition to get the public drunken law out. If Auntie Tanya had been given the assistance that she needed while she was intoxicated, she wouldn't have died in custody. So it is really important. She had committed no crime, and she needed to be helped in a safe environment, and was not helped, and instead died in custody. It's approximately 4:24, and we're going to be speaking with Sam Watson presently. And of course, just to remind listeners that in case listeners have just tuned in, this is the Doin' Time Show, and this is a special radio broadcast and tribute for Ray Jackson, who is Wiradjuri warrior from New South Wales and founder of ISJA. So just to give a little bit of background here in regards to what we're going to be speaking with Sam Watson about, we're going to be speaking to him about the Frontier Wars. And the Frontier Wars are really, really disturbing and very important. And the reason why I invited Sam to come on is because basically Ray Jackson really campaigned to recognise the Frontier Wars and the massacres that happened, and in particular the warriors that are not recognised, and the warriors that actually and freedom fighters that actually contributed to the history, to Aboriginal history. And the Frontier Wars were long and bloody, and they it was really difficult. There were massacres, and there were many things that transpired before colonisation, and these things are still happening. You know, you've still got the stolen generation, you've got the Aboriginal deaths in custody, you've got the fact that the 339 recommendations of the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody have not been upheld. And in fact, I actually attended a candle vigil last Monday night on behalf of the Doin' Time Show, and we did there was a lot of bearing witness to and a candle vigil to honour the people that had died, and also Auntie Tanya Day. All right, so I'm going to be speaking shortly with Sam Watson, but in the meantime I'll put on a song. I believe I'm going to put on a Kev Carmody song, and we'll see if we can find that, and we'll be speaking with Sam Watson very, very soon. And that song is called I've Been Moved, Kev Carmody. Stay.
In December 2017, Tanya Day, proud Yorta woman and much-loved member of the Aboriginal community, was travelling by train to Melbourne. When V-Line staff found her asleep, they called Castlemaine Police, and she was removed from the train and charged with public drunkenness. Tanya died 17 days later as a result of head injuries sustained while in custody. This would never have happened had the recommendations of the 2001 Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody been implemented. Tanya Day's family is calling for the crime of public drunkenness to be abolished and for the implementation of genuine community health alternatives to incarceration. Please add your support by signing the petition at 3CR Reception, 21 Smith Street, Fitzroy, or online by entering Tanya Day Petition into your browser.
She's a woman. phone. Woman business in the phone. Woman business.
This is Irene Bolger, former Secretary of the Nurses Federation in Victoria. Throughout the nurses dispute in 1986 and the waterfront dispute in 1998, 3CR was always there, broadcasting the voices of workers in struggle.
You're listening to 3CR Community Radio, and we're broadcasting live from the Beta Chicken Strike here in Melbourne.
We've just seen all of the thousands of nurses walk through to their meeting and people from different unions showing their solidarity.
3CR, radio for the workers, by the workers, since 1976.
In December 2017, Tanya Day, proud Yorta Yorta woman and much-loved member of the Aboriginal community, was travelling by train to Melbourne. When V-Line staff found her asleep, they called Castlemaine Police and she was removed from the train and charged with public drunkenness. Tanya died 17 days later as a result of head injuries sustained while in custody. This would never have happened had the recommendations of the 2001 Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody been implemented. Tanya Day's family is calling for the crime of public drunkenness to be abolished and for the implementation of genuine community health alternatives to incarceration. Please add your support by signing the petition at 3CR Reception, 21 Smith Street, Fitzroy, or online by entering Tanya Day Petition into your browser.
We Need to Pay the Rent is a fundraiser for warriors of the Aboriginal resistance featuring the Pretty Littles, Worst Nurse, Ute Root, No Sister, Face, and a heap more. Come join us on Kulin Nation land to give back. It's well overdue. We need to pay the rent. Saturday, May the 18th at the Tote from 4 p.m. Tickets $20. Available from the Tote website, thetotehotel.com. Free or discounted tickets for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Contact organisers online to arrange. A 3CR supporter.
And you're back with the Doing Time show, and we have got now Sam Watson on the line, and this is a special tribute to Ray Jackson. This whole show is dedicated to him, and Sam and I had a chat the other day, and he's very happy. I invited him to come to talk about one of Ray's, not favourite, I mean, I'm not going to use the word favourite, but one of his very important campaigns in regards to recognising the Frontier Wars. The Frontier Wars, despite attempts by many Australians and even politicians to gloss over the brutal colonisation of Australia, there is no denying the crimes against humanity that continue to take place. From the earliest years of invasion, there are countless stories of massacres handed down from generation to generation, and there are settlers' records found in old journals and letters that give grave insights into those early years. Hello, Sam. Welcome to the program. Hello, Sam. Oh, dear. I think we have some technical difficulties here. Hello, Sam. Okay, we may need to actually put on another song to actually work out what is going on here. Hello, Sam.
Yep, hello, gotcha.
Oh.
Well, I've got to...
Oh, dearie me. We've had some technical difficulties today, Sam.
Yeah, I've got a echo.
There's an echo. We just have to put up with it, and can you? Are you able to do that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I'm hearing my own voice coming back at me. No,
okay.
Is it okay now?
Is it really? Is it really horrible? No. Okay.
No. It's all good.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's so good to have you. Now. Yeah.
We're on air, are we?
We're on air, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
no. This is all good.
Sorry?
Now, I was just giving a little bit of an intro before about the Frontier Wars and about how this has been a special tribute to Ray Jackson. and that I invited you to speak about the Frontier Wars and how they're not recognised. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, because here in Brisbane for a number of years now, we've been having our own special service on Anzac Day, April 25, because right across the city there are parks and special places that commemorate the sacrifice of those young soldiers, men and women who have gone away overseas to fight in foreign places and were killed in action in those places. But since the beginning of our struggle, we have been documenting and recording the accounts of the frontier conflicts that began right back in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. I mean, even when Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander soldiers were coming back from foreign places after the First World War and Second World War, there were still hunts and massacres being conducted against our people and our community. So, but there's no evidence, there's no record, there's no monument to those tens of thousands of heroic men and women who stood on country and fought and died protecting their lands and protecting the sacred places. So each year we have, as I said, a very special commemorative service, but right across the cultural year as well, we always ensure that we honour the ultimate sacrifices made by these amazing people who, as said, stood on country and fought with weapons of wood against British colonial forces who had the latest technologies, who used horses and used artillery, and fought full-scale wars against unarmed civilian populations, and used biological warfare as well. So there is compelling evidence that the colonial forces used disease-infected blankets. They used smallpox and they poisoned water holes. So, I mean, even in the recent accounts that have been revealed with the stock routes in Northern Territory and West Australia, they committed awful atrocities against Aboriginal children and elders in order to force them to reveal where the water sources were. So white Australia really does need to have a good long look in the mirror and acknowledge the fact that there still needs to be a process similar to the South African experience, where there is a Truth and Justice Commission, and that these war crimes committed against our people need to be examined within a judicial framework, within a judicial context, and charges should be laid against those military commanders who perpetrated those terrible acts against, as said, unarmed civilian populations.
Absolutely. And in fact, Sam, one of the warriors, let me see if I've got the correct pronunciation here. Is it Pemul?
Pemulwuy.
Yeah, Pemulwuy.
Pemulwuy, yes.
He was one of the earliest recorded resistance fighters of the Frontier Wars.
Yes. And he's got his life and his struggles recorded by some amazing Indigenous academics. But every state, every territory, every community has people like this, and it's so critical, so important that their stories, their sacrifice, not just disappear into the pages of history. I mean, for example, here in Brisbane, every January we gather down there in the city on January 5 and have a special ceremony to commemorate the military execution of a great man called Dundalli, who was charged with the responsibilities of defending his people and his country. And he was trapped, he was ambushed, and he was tried before a colonial court. The entire court was conducted according to the British legal system. The languages used in the court were languages that were foreign to him and to his people. And yet he was tried and convicted and sentenced to death. And they hung him in Queen Street on the gallows on January 5, 1855 for the crime of defending his land, his country, his people. So, and this story's replicated right across the land, and every single state and every territory, and the Northern Territory in particular. There were terrible atrocities carried out against our people, and to this day, no one's ever been held to account for that. And those atrocities, of course, are still being committed and carried through and perpetrated to this day through the so-called deaths in custody, where Aboriginal people are being murdered in police or prison custody. And yet again, the perpetrators, the people who are guilty of these crimes, are very rarely charged, and to this day, not one person has ever been convicted of a criminal offence against an Aboriginal person. So the struggle goes on.
Indeed it does, Sam, and thanks for that account. It's really important to recognise those warriors. And Anzac Day indeed still amidst the documented frontier wars, doesn't it? Even though the War Memorial states the day is about remembering all wars.
That's right, because Anzac, I'm still a little bit mystified, and I've discussed this area with the greatest respect to those families who have lost loved ones to the overseas wars, but I still pose the question: how did that military action that took place in Gallipoli Cove back in the second decade of the 1900s? How did that? How was that of any importance to me and my family and to my community? I mean, that was it was a military action that was initiated by the British military leadership, and they, in that context, as an Aboriginal person, I would have had a far greater empathy for the Turks who stood on their own land at Gallipoli Cove and defended their sovereign lands against a foreign invader. So, foreign invader being the British and Australian and New Zealand troops. And again, I say this with all due respect to those people who lost loved ones over there. But
so what? Sorry. So what are you saying, Sam, about that? What do you mean?
The Anzac invasion was an illegitimate invasion of sovereign land.
Yes.
So, and I question the military value of that action. I question the political value, and absolutely. I reject profoundly just when people say, we should pause and give respect and thanks for those people who fought for our freedoms. But at that time, Aboriginal people didn't have any freedoms or any rights.
Exactly.
This is some decades before Aboriginal people were counted in the census. There's some decades before Aboriginal people had the right to vote, and people still have to recognise the fact that those actions around which the Anzac tradition are based, the Boer War, the First World War, the Second World War, the Korean War, and the Vietnamese War, were actions, military actions, that were committed to by cabinet governments. So the Australian people, the Australian parliamentary system, didn't even sanction Australian involvement in those military campaigns. I mean, the Boer War, a large number of Aboriginal men were taken across to the Boer War and used as trackers against the Boers. But after the ceasefire was signed and the Australian forces were repatriated to Australia, the Aboriginal trackers who had fought with valour and with great honour and great courage were refused entry back into Australia, because of the White Australia policy.
Yes.
So
yeah.
in the end, the boat turned around and took them back to South Africa. So here in 2019, there is a large number of people and families across the South African community who are the descendants of that group of Aboriginal trackers. And in the First World War, Aboriginal people had to sign a statement, sign a document to say they were either non-Aboriginal or they had a preponderance of European blood in order to be signed into the Australian infantry forces. In the Second World War, entry into the forces was much more simple because of the great need for soldiers, for troops. But in the Korean War, again, we had large numbers of Aboriginal people coming back from the overseas conflict, the police action in Korea, but again denied the basic rights as citizens here on the domestic home front. I mean, the classic tales about Aboriginal ex-soldiers doing the march past and being saluted by the governors or whatever, were then being denied access to the local pub and being denied the right to have a beer with their mates. So this Anzac tradition is something that, as there's poses more questions than actually answers.
Absolutely, and you know I think you've raised some really, really important points, and one of the things that why I like having you here, Sam, is because you know a lot about the history, and the history is really important, and it's connected to the present and the future, and for elders emerging as well.
Well, if you don't learn from the mistakes of history, you're doomed to repeat those mistakes. And unfortunately, again, we have Australian soldiers and military resources in overseas places pursuant to decisions made within a closed cabinet room. So the soldiers in Afghanistan are not there representing the Australian people pursuant to a decision made by the Australian Parliament. That again was a cabinet decision. So you have military people and political people making hijacking the process and making decisions on our behalf that the Australian people should have a legitimate right to have a say in.
Absolutely, Sam. You still there?
Yep.
Yeah. So the other thing to note as well, and I just wanted you to make if you can, a final comment on the frontier wars. What I find interesting about all that is that, you had people think that there was no fighting back, but there actually was. Like, you had freedom fighters that were trying to fight for their land, and the thing that's really appalling is that when they were captured, and some listeners may not want to listen to this, but I have to say it, they used to remove the heads of the Aboriginal people and bring them to England.
Yep. I mean, Yagan's head from great warrior leader from Nyungar country in Western Australia there, his head was removed and it took a long, long time to come back. So the British have committed some appalling acts across their history, and they have never really been held to account for it. I mean, the crimes they perpetrate against the people in India, the crimes they perpetrate against the people in China. I mean, they used opium as a trade good in order to extract, boatloads of tea from the Chinese people. And when the Chinese government said, no, sorry, you're doing great damage to our people through this opium trade. So the British sent this enormous navy across to China to blockade China and force them to again use opium as a trade good in order to secure access to the rich harvests of tea. So the British East India Company has committed terrible atrocities against against people right across the globe. And,
right across the globe, indeed. And look, Sam,
yep.
I'm not going to apologise for saying that on air, because it is important that sometimes we have to be a little bit graphic, because people do need to know. Often these things are taboo subjects, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have accounts here in Queensland where white men actually skinned Aboriginal people and to use the skins for trophies. So, and again, no one's held to account for these terrible crimes against humanity. So,
but we're moving forward.
Yes. So, if there does need to be a true reconciliation. There does need to be a day on which the Australian people and the British Crown stand there in the open in a full public ceremony and admit to those atrocities committed against our people throughout the frontier conflicts. And from that point, then we can negotiate a true history of the movement of Europeans into our sacred homeland.
Absolutely. We've got about 1 minute left, Sam. Thanks so much for coming on to this very special show for Ray Jackson. I know you weren't that close to him. I know you're not from the same land, but I hope that's okay.
Geographically, we were removed, but Uncle Ray was one of the shining lights of that early movement through the 90s that initiated the National Death in Custody campaign, and Uncle Ray was there to head up a number of very important campaigns around key death in custody, and I won't mention names because I don't have
that's okay.
the permissions of those families.
We've done plenty of that today. Yep.
Uncle Ray was such a great man, inspirational person, and he was one of those quiet achievers who just happened to always be there, and he just got on with the job, and he certainly was a brilliant mentor to the next wave of emerging leaders who are taking up the struggle today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye. Ciao. And that was Ray, I was only going to say Ray Jackson. That was Sam Watson from Queensland, Aboriginal activist, speaking about lots and lots of things in regards to frontier wars. Beyond Zero up next. And goodbye from Marissa. I hope people really appreciated the special tribute to Ray Jackson. Thanks. Going out.